Caitlin Clark come out and say what needed to be said. She stood on business and said, we need to play in games. And y'all that are signed to these other leagues that are compromised, stop playing with the people who are not. Stop playing games. Let's get to it. Ain't nothing to
Kelsey Plum, the first vice president of the WNBA Players Association, just drew a firm line in ongoing contract negotiations. But what makes this moment truly explosive is the timing. Only hours earlier at USA basketball camp in North Carolina, the league's biggest superstar, Caitlin Clark, delivered a completely different message. Speaking publicly, Clark urged both sides to find middle ground and emphasized that players need to be on the court this season. Plum quickly countered, describing negotiations as deeply frustrating and making it clear that the two sides remain miles apart on a deal. Two superstars, two conflicting messages. And here's the twist that raises the stakes even higher. One of them owns part of a rival league.
Response is in this. This is crazy, man. Like, you're signed to Unrivaled. You got equity in Unrivaled. Like, y'all are somewhat compromised on the situation to a degree, even if you're it's just weird, man. It's a little weird. Y'all on the board, but y'all got equity in the competitor leagues. It's all a little conflict of interest. Here it says, Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark said Friday that while WNBA players will fight for everything we deserve during their current round of collective bargaining.
Watch closely. Clark wasn't just speaking off the cuff. At Duke University on January 10th, 2025, she made her position unmistakable. Fans are hungry for basketball on the court, and both sides have to bend if a deal is going to happen. This wasn't a casual interview soundbite. This was the league's crown jewel. The player who helped deliver 3.2 million viewers to WNBA broadcasts last season, publicly applying pressure on her own union to get something done. She warned that negotiations are entering crunch time, which in diplomatic terms means the runway is disappearing fast. And here's where it gets messy. The WNBA and the Players Union already pushed back their original deadline once, extending it to January 19th after missing the December cutoff, buying themselves 6 extra weeks. They've already burned through half of that extension. And if Kelsey Plum's comments are accurate, the two sides still aren't anywhere near a handshake. That's alarming when you've already missed one deadline and used up most of the buffer meant to prevent exactly the situation.
A second extension of the current CBA through January 9th, 2026, as both sides continue to work toward a new deal. But questions persist on whether both sides will come to an agreement by then, or even whether a work stoppage could be on the horizon. Now, this is what Kelsey Plum had to say. Kelsey Plum, first vice president of the WNBPA, said at Camp Friday that the talks have been a little disheartening. The
league has now put forward its latest proposal, anchored by a dramatic jump in player pay. Under the offer, the maximum salary would begin at a guaranteed $1 million floor in 2026, and when projected revenue sharing is factored in, elite players could earn more than $1.2 million annually. The salary cap would surge to $5 million in 2026 and continue rising each year, tied directly to league revenue performance. By any measure, that's a massive leap from the current max salary of roughly $241,984, more than quadrupling what top players can make. But this is where negotiations stall. The union isn't just asking for higher salaries. It's pushing for a full overhaul of the compensation system, including a new revenue-sharing framework, mandatory standards for team facilities and staffing, and expanded benefits. Those final demands appear to be the breaking point. While the league is willing to cut $1 million paychecks, it expects players to give up some existing housing stipends and vehicle allowances to make the numbers work. The union has flatly rejected that trade-off, insisting they won't swap one benefit for another. They want the entire package.
Players' priorities are transforming the league's salary structure and revenue sharing system, introducing standards for team facilities and staffing, and garnering more robust benefits. The league has said it wants to substantially increase players' salary and other cost commitments, while also incentivizing owners to continue to invest in operating the business and building sustained profitability. The most recently reported league proposal.
This is where Caitlin Clark clearly diverges from a union's current game plan. She isn't on the negotiating committee. Her Fever teammates Lexi Hull, Lexi Brown, and Aaliyah Boston handle player representation, while Brianna Stewart serves as the union's treasurer. Clark is kept informed, but she isn't in the room making the calls, and that distance gives her the freedom to say what others won't. Her message is simple but pointed. There are battles worth going to war over, and there are areas where compromise makes sense. She made it clear that players will fight for everything they've earned and deserve, but both sides have to bend somewhere. That isn't weakness. It's strategic thinking. Clark is openly acknowledging the risk of demanding everything with no flexibility. You don't get leverage, you get nothing. And nothing means no season. No season means no games, no spotlight, and the very real possibility that all the momentum built in 2024 disappears overnight. Here's what Clark understands, and what others seem to be missing. The WNBA just delivered the most successful year in its history, and it happened because of her impact. Attendance at Fever games doubled almost overnight. Viewership records were shattered. Merchandise sales exploded. Corporate sponsors lined up. This wasn't gradual growth or a long-term rebuild. It was a Caitlin Clark effect, and everyone in basketball knows it. Even official reporting hints at the truth when it says the league wants to capitalize on the WNBA's recent growth. Because what that really means is capitalizing on what Clark brought to the league throughout 2024. But cultural moments don't last forever. If there's number 2025 season, the casual fans who just discovered the WNBA will move on, the spotlight will fade, and the momentum will die completely. And here's the uncomfortable reality. Most players may never get another opportunity like this to secure truly life-changing money. That's the warning Clark is sounding. Don't blow this moment by refusing to bend at all. Kelsey Plum, however, isn't buying that argument. She's gone on record saying players are fully united and standing on principle, a stance echoed by Angel Reese, who emphasized how deliberate and aligned the players are in what they want. It's classic union solidarity language, the kind you hear when both sides are bracing for a fight.
That's what that line should have said. They are looking to capitalize off of Caitlin Clark, because if there was no Caitlin Clark in this league, they would have already agreed on a deal. Trust and believe, they wouldn't be doing all this hard negotiating and this and that if there was no Caitlin Clark that came in this league and brought the numbers, brought the viewership, brought everything. Simple as that. Simple as that. Here it says, what I'm proud of is that we play with a group of women that are united and we're standing on something, Plum said. Chicago Sky All-Star Angel Reese echoed that sentiment. I think everybody's really intentional about what we want. I think the players in WNBPA have...
Now, let's address the massive elephant in the room that nobody wants to confront directly. Kelsey Plum is a co-founder of Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 league launching in Miami this month. She owns equity in the league, signed a multi-million-dollar contract, and sits on its board of directors. So, as WNBA negotiations drag on and the threat of number 2025 season grows real, the logical outcome becomes clear. Players will need someone to showcase their talents, and conveniently, Unrivaled is positioned as the perfect alternative. That's the textbook definition of a conflict of interest. Plum is supposedly negotiating on behalf of 44 WNBA players, but she personally benefits if talks collapse and players are forced to seek other leagues. She's not alone. Brianna Stewart, the union treasurer actively making negotiating decisions, is also a co-founder of Unrivaled with significant equity, as is Nfisa Collier. These are the women leading the union strategy, all with major financial stakes in a direct competitor to the WNBA. Caitlin Clark has no such conflict clouding her judgment. She isn't signed with Unrivaled or locked into any alternative league. Her entire value and earning potential are tied to WNBA success. If there's number 2025 season, she loses a full year of her prime earning window. Unlike others, she can't simply pivot to another league with a guaranteed payday. That's why her perspective is fundamentally different from a union leadership. She needs the WNBA to thrive. There's no plan B.